Hello, everybody. We have a live stream. Wow. We have Stev, Zaz, Fardine, Justin, KMI, Haley, Dante, who is also in the VC, PogChamp, and Karumi. Welcome, everybody. Get comfy, get comfy. I'm gonna ping the Discord super fast while everyone introduces themselves. We have Dante first up. Welcome, Dante.
Hello, everyone.
And then we have a walrus here as well.
I like poop.
Perfect. And then Mateem.
Hello, everybody.
Wow. So that's what we all sound like. And you can see that I have our names posted above us. And well, except for me, because it's pretty obvious. Yeah, we're here. We're live. I pinged the Discord. And we are going to be talking about very many things today. Oh, I gotta grab the Discord link, I lied. But first up is going to be Yelan. So, does anyone want to go first? Talking about, oh wait, no, I forgot the rules and all that stuff. Oh my god. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm super scatterbrained. So, this video is not monetized because ads are annoying on a podcast. So if you would like to, toss in any super chats or support or gift memberships or whatever, you're more than welcome to. As for questions, after each topic, we are going to stop and do take questions from chat. So if you have a question, just wait until the end of the topic before we move on to the next one. We will take your questions. And other than that, we are here to have fun and all that good stuff. So first up, Yelan, who has things to say?
If I may, I want to go first simply because I am going to be talking about the more general aspects of the character. Like, for example, I love the way the voice actress of Yelan portrays the character because it's a very alluring voice, has a lot of weight to it, but at the same time very mysterious, which I simply loved it. From the very moment I heard it, I fell in love with it. So that's something great. And the way the character is designed it's a very, very well pleasing to the eye. So props on that.
Well then, just riffing off of that, I think her aesthetics are done really well. She's not as in your face as someone like Ganyu and what's her Shinhe. She just has enough flair to her overall design to give her some level of personality. But yeah, I guess I want to transition also into her kit a little bit. If you guys know, before she came out, I had a couple concerns for her, but for the most part, they've all been addressed, and she's a wonderful unit to play. Of course, not like the definitive best for every team, but she offers that flexibility for some and best in slot for others, which, when a 5-star comes out, the best thing you can ask for is to have her be specialized in certain areas and teams. And I think Yelan not only does that, but she creates teams and makes them better. Right now, I think a lot of people are benefiting if you have Yelan in the Abyss by running a Raiden national variation with Yelan instead of Xingqiu, and the second team can run a Hu Tao team, which is still an insanely popular team. And if you guys go see usage, so you see Yelan not only makes a new team possible or a variation possible, but she also opens up the ability to use Xingqiu in other teams, which is immensely valuable in my opinion.
Oh yeah. No, and she's super flexible. I think that you can throw her in just a ton of different team comps, and there's a lot of value there. I think moving into dendro and specifically future physical units, she's gonna be super valuable. Like I've already seen that she can be valuable for amping up characters like Zhao or Ito, even though she might not be like best in slot for those teams. It is an interesting thing that she can boost damage that Kazuha can't boost. So like if you got yourself a Yelan and a Kazuha, you have two buffers that can basically buff everything in the game, which is really nice. But yeah, for my general, I guess general thoughts on her, I think that her character is really well done. I like kind of what Dante said, her personality and her voice actress did a great job. Like I really think they pulled off her personality well. And she's a lot of fun to play. I think that her skill, like Hoyoverse has been doing a really good job of coming up with ways to make characters fun to play, which is really good because you know, they don't do a lot of power creep. So like having a unit that's just fun to play is valuable because it breathes new life into the game, and you don't have to like make old units obsolete to do that. You can just find different ways to have fun.
While we're on the topic of power creep, since the word came up, what do you guys think about Yelan and her C6 scaling? I'm sure nobody here has it, but like I'm sure you guys seen the videos. Like, how does that make you guys feel?
It is pretty insane, to be honest. As like, the character itself has a very big sub DPS potential with CC6 because she cannot be on the field the entire time just because of how her CC6 works. But the amount of damage she outputs in that time basically is all you need for Genshin as it is at the moment. So I honestly feel like she's gonna be viable for a very long time until Mikoyo starts giving us harder content to play, basically.
Yeah, like with that said, that's what I was assuming. Like, remember in our last podcast that we touched on the topic of Hoyoverse eventually should be adding more difficult content in Sumeru, because Sumeru is almost like towards the middle or end of Sumeru. We should be around halfway to you know, through this journey, and we were expecting, like most of us were all in agreement, that Sumeru should be introducing something more difficult. Do you guys think Yelan C6 setting a new ceiling for what's capable at C6 is indicative of a potential, you know, new wave of content coming in?
Maybe. I do think that her C6 is kind of nutty. I have seen the videos, but like, I don't know. I'm not sure if C6 is intended to be fair and balanced. I'm not sure. Cause the damage ceiling just gets so ridiculous that, like, I mean, okay, I watched a lot of videos like I win to lose and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, she is faster than like C6 Raiden and stuff, but it's by a couple seconds at most, you know, like in a lot of the situations. And like, I'm not sure if that's enough of a difference to like make it really that important. Obviously to people that see that it's a new damage ceiling, like that really care about that, like that is important to them. So maybe, I think if anything, it was like a bait for whales. Basically say like, hey, look, this character can break the power ceiling. Like, don't you want her now? Because a lot of characters like Kazuha, he didn't sell well the first time because people didn't really realize his potential. And maybe they thought that if they gave her a busted C6, that like it would just make her sellability, like people would immediately see her value or something. I don't know.
I see. That makes sense, because even though I think Kazuha's rerun is going to be quite successful, I guess it makes sense for Hoyoverse to want to have a successful initial banner sale as opposed to, you know, coming here and selling reruns, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like she's so close to like what Kazuha was like when he first came out.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they thought they needed to give that to her as just like an edge for the competition. I'm really not sure, but I do think that her coming out before Dendro is important, because if there is like a Dendro DPS, I feel like she's gonna be probably like best in slot support for them.
If I may, I think also that this type of characters with very busted C6 constellations, they're catering in a certain way to the innate competitive side we all have, because I will be the first to admit I am guilty of doing this. I go into some videos showcasing units that I have and I try to compare numbers, even though I shouldn't, because by far I shouldn't compare numbers, but I do. And I think that in a lot of ways, the community always tries to compare and compete with one another. My Kazuha does more elemental damage, my Ito does more geo damage, and the same will be with Yelan. My Yelan does more hydro damage than yours. So in a certain way, yes, they're probably going to be adding more difficult content, more enemies that have very specific ways to be defeated, but I think it also is a very smart move on Hoyoverse, because they know that most of the community tends to compete with one another. They tend to flex artifacts and crit ratios, so they could also be saying, hey, I'm giving you this constellation, you have to work for it, but hey, I'm giving you the constellation, and you could have a better Yelan than the other person over there, so do you want it? I think that in a certain way that's also part of the thing that it's happening here, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think?
No,
Yeah,
I agree, yeah.
I think you're right, because Hoyoverse does a lot of what I guess what I could call is like fishing. It's basically like see how much they can get away with when it comes to this stuff. They'll continuously try to see if like, okay, well, you know, with this monetization model, it's got like think about like YouTubers trying different clickbaits and see, or like trying different content and seeing what sticks. Hoyoverse is like a great example is 4 stars and their constellations, as 5 stars and their constellations. The constellations have been evolving. Look at Venti's constellation, Zhao's constellation, and then now look at modern day Ito constellations, right? I'm sure Dante, you're very familiar with. I'm sure you have them all framed and on the walls. Be like, one day, baby, one day. It's just Hoyoverse has a way to evolving their monetization game. It's pretty interesting to see. Like if you have them side by side and just compare, you see how far we've come when it comes to how they monetize Constellation. And I think Yelan is a great example of a damn near perfected monetization model. Just enough like bait in the lower constellations to get you to consider it, and enough power in the upper constellations for you to really think of going all the way. Let's say you somehow got lucky with C1, C2, and then you like, yo, screw it, let's just go C4. And once you're at C4, like, it's just a couple $100 more to C6, and it's so broken, it's the new standard, and why not? And I think that's the game they're playing. Milk every little more that they can get out of you. And I say milk in a way that's negative, but I really mean like they just want to incentivize and reward you for spending again, as opposed to whatever the hell Venti C1 was back in the day.
That makes perfect sense, actually. That just made me think about this. It's literally so perfect. Okay, so Kazuha C6 and Shenhe C6. They're like similar units. Like Shenhe is a freeze buffer sub DPS. Kazuha is like a general elemental buffer sub DPS. Kazuha C6 is really good, but it doesn't make him out DPS a DPS. It doesn't make his DPS like broken like Yelan's is at C6. And same with Shenhe. And maybe they realized that it wasn't enough motivation. Like there aren't enough people like me who like just want them on field and don't care if it's like as much DPS or whatever. Like, you know, kind of what Dante is saying, people compare numbers. So like a lot of people I'm guessing are gonna stop Shenhe at like C1, C2 at most, Kazuha, same deal. People don't take him past C2 unless they're gonna C6 him, and yeah, it's like bait.
Yeah, the goal is always the goal is to get as many people to C6 every character as humanly possible. Unrealistic, yes, but that is the goal. That's a mission statement, like pinned somewhere in their office.
I can only imagine the way it would look like framed on a wall. We need to make people spend to get C6.
Yeah,
That's the standard.
yeah, that's a golden standard, and it's working. It's actually working. Despite veteran players being less and less engaged, sales are very consistent, and in most cases, rival like each banner reruns and whatnot are starting to rival, top numbers from previous banners. It's impressive, truly, what they're accomplishing here.
I think
Yeah.
we have figured out the formula with a new character banner with rerun being together most of the time. Because I actually seen the data, and for the most part, the new type of banners where you have two banners at the same time, being basically the same numbers as Raiden's first run. And that's despite the fact that we don't have the incentive as we did on the first anniversary because of the top-up resets and whatnot. So it is
right.
interesting. It is very interesting strategy which Mikhail is taking, and I think they will go with it.
Yeah, I think going forward, just expect, and I mean with the deluxe skin now as well. Sorry, I guess we're getting a little sidetracked. It's just their monetization models. Hoyoverse is very careful as to how they experiment with monetization. I think they try really hard to not come across as this greedy company, if that like, oh, I know it's kind of a meme to say that, but like they're trying to come across like, hey, you see, we're not milking you guys too hard here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've gotten the 4-star skins for free, and like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and like, I mean, I think actually now that Diablo Immortal is out, I think people have like seen what the what is the frame of reference for terrible for monetization. And in Hoyoverse, like Genshin really, compared to even other gacha games, it's not that bad. Like it really isn't. The free-to-play experience is workable. Like it may not be the most fun or it may not be the most luxurious, but like free-to-play players can clear all the content, can play the game, can keep up.
Dawei is like just having a blast in his office when he like saw what the hell happened to Diablo Immortal, all the bad press, and then they're just like, this is the most like a greedy, a predatory, disgusting game like ever made to mankind, and Dawei's just sitting there like, yes. Like,
Yeah.
and I think Hoyoverse does such a good job because they've established that precedence from the very beginning. They don't want PvP, they don't want players, but yet Hoyoverse has proved that you don't need in-game PvP for a game to be, successful in their monetization model. Yeah, competitive as well. Like, yeah, players will come up with their own PvP. You don't need to, overdo it for them.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Like it's one of the, I think it is, I mean, it's the only gacha game that I know of that doesn't have really like any competitive aspect to flex on or whatever.
I'll be honest with you guys. Personally, I come from a country where we are not in such a good position economically, like when it comes to the exchange to dollars, we have to pay around 7 to 9, depending on the time, 7 to 9 exchange to get to $1. So sometimes when I see these new skins, I get afraid. I'll be honest, I get afraid that they're going to start releasing skins that also bring features like they get a buff or they get something that makes them even more unique, like inbuilt passive that rivals artifact sets.
No, they're not. They're not gonna do that.
Oh,
They will not do that.
I know what you mean. But I don't think Hoyoverse is the kind of company that would completely ruin their like everything they've done up to this point would be ruined if they did that. Like everything. Like just think giving us Bennett for free, giving us Zhangling, like I mean for free, like air quote, but making these amazing 4-star free-to-play units accessible to almost everyone. It's kind of like a gratuity service that they're giving to us, showing us, you know, hey, we want free-to-plays to have a good time in this game. We don't want any PvP, so nobody's ever gonna feel left behind or left out. Yeah, if they come up with skins like that, that's just like they're gonna lose a lot of people, like a lot of players.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's what made me a little afraid when I saw this new deluxe skin. It made me a bit afraid. I'll be honest. But at the same time, if I can't afford it, I'll be fine with it. I'll be fine. I'll live. But in a certain way, it also makes me afraid because of the same fallacy that it's the FOMO. It simply it happens. So I don't know. It's one of those things, but.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, you know, having some FOMO with the skins and stuff, but you know, it's one of those things where it definitely could be a lot worse. I don't think they will ever do anything above a 5-star skin. They specifically made a note in the live stream to be like, look, this is the fancy 5-star skin. So I don't think that they're ever gonna do anything above that. And the only thing that's different is that Diluc gets one new idle animation, like a single new idle animation, and it makes his burst a little bit different, and it makes his skill fire look a little bit different. But that's it. So I mean,
there might be more to it, to be honest.
I
The thing is, we will not know until the skin releases.
What they specifically said was that it comes with a new idle animation. It was not plural. And then we saw the skill effects being a little bit different, but that's it. So I don't think there will be FOMO, but I don't think you should FOMO any more than a normal skin for Genshin, because it is cooler, but like I really don't think it's like that much. It's not that game changing.
Like I'll be honest, people are gonna have buyer's remorse so quick. Because,
yeah, it's like it's like $40 or something for the skin, because the 4-star ones are like $25 or something. It's gonna be like $40. Like that's a really expensive, like, you know.
Yeah, for $40, I want like the voice actor to do 4 new voice lines, all new like animations. I want particle effects. I want like all the jazz. You know, I want him to play a ukulele with his feet. Like I don't think. 40, like I mean, look at League of Legends. It's a very popular game. Valorant, like they have, you know, it's for $100. I think in Valorant you get like 7 like skins for 7 guns or something like that, and a lot of them has like animations and like particle effects. I don't know. I think Hoyoverse, I guess it's a mobile game, so they know they can get away with it. But you know, it's just a little too much.
Yeah.
That brings me to the question: what will you guys do when the time comes? Because it will come eventually, when they start releasing the Archon skins with the new animations. I think you once said this, Walrus, that you wanted a skin for Zhongli that literally makes him float in the air and start doing a lot of the things around the time of the Archon War, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I want his Archon War skin, the one where he's wearing the robe and he's floating, and his burst is just his spear coming down from the heavens and just plunging into the earth. Yes, I will drop $100, maybe more, for that skin. But that is, I know they got me. Hey, brothers, carry on without me.
Yeah, that's
stay strong.
But again, I think that would just be a 5-star skin. Like, I don't think it'll be anything beyond that. Like, you know. But, let's try to get back on topic here. The topic was Yelan. And we basically... Right. I don't know if Mateen really gave his thoughts on her as a whole. Did you want to do that?
I think I said more than enough about Yelan. Personally, I got to see free Yelan, and I really enjoy playing Overworld with Yelan. she just makes my day easy with the double charges on her E, and that's pretty much about it. Because I don't really use her on the Abyss since she's not finished being built, but she's very enjoyable for the overworld. So
Yeah, for sure. No,
that's
she's
pretty much it.
she is really nice to play and definitely really helps with moving around. It just feels like you're zipping around. And I did test it. Movement speed actually does make her go faster in her skill state.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
It
so
does. I always try to have C2 of Jean in effect, and then
yeah.
she just speed.
Yeah, it's it's really zippy. It feels really good. So yeah, she's a great unit. I do want to, before we open up for any questions about Yelan or anything, before we move on to the next topic, if you guys are enjoying this podcast and you would like to drop a like and help boost us up, help bring us up in the algorithm, show your support, that would be amazing. We have the Discord link pinned in the chat there if you would like to join and talk with people about Genshin or other games. So yeah, we're gonna open it up for just a minute or two. If you have any questions about Yelan or anything like that, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will address them. But I think all of us pretty much agree that she's a great unit. She's got big potential with her C6, and just with her buffing in general, she's got like a bright future. Yeah, I don't know. Things you don't like about Yelan. Personally, I kind of,
Interesting.
I guess her charge shot for me, I think it's annoying that they have that, like, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and I really don't like the whole like 30% chance to reset. You have to hit multiple enemies, and if you're fighting like 1v1 on a boss, it's not really gonna reset. Like, I just feel like that's kind of like a lot for nothing. You know, it's like kind of over designed, like, because her charge shot, like I said, it doesn't do a lot of damage. So even if it 100% reset every time you used her skill, it's not like that's gonna do anything, because her C6 allows you to do like 300% damage, you know, like 147% damage charge shots by clicking. That's my one complaint.
I don't have Yelan. I did not pull for her, not because I don't like her. Like I said before, I love the character, but first of all, I was saving for Ito. I'm a Geo main basically, and I don't really use a lot of reactions except for freeze on my second team. Having said that, I did play a little with Yelan on the what's it called?
Trial.
The trial. Thank you. And one thing that I found surprising, not annoying, because well, you get used to it, but surprising is that she does not have an invulnerability state when she goes invisible on her skill. She runs very fast, true, but enemies can still harm her, and you could possibly die while doing the animation. So I thought that she was going to be invulnerable on that state, but it wasn't, so that's the only thing that I would say that needs perhaps to change, but I might be mistaken.
Yelan charge attack or Ganyu charge attack? Well, it's an obvious answer that Ganyu's charge attack is better, because the character was designed this way. Unlike Yelan. Yelan was designed to be more of a sub DPS, with her burst and E being basically bread and butter, and then Constellations just makes her more fill more roles into the team, basically.
Yeah, if you want to do what you do with Ganyu, like melt Ganyu, you actually do that with Yelan's skill. Like, her skill is what does huge, massive vape damage. So her charge shot is cool, but like for me, my Yelan, I have her weapon. I have a pretty good build, 84, 238 on crit. If I vape a charge shot, it's like 50k. If I vape my skill, it's like 130 to 150k. So it's definitely, the skill is like what you want to use for the big nukes.
Yeah,
One,
personally, I don't have any problems with Yelan. I think she's a really well designed character, both for C0, and I have no problems with her C6 or nor any of her constellations. I think she's great. I think she's definitely like I'm gonna say top 3, 5-star in the game right now.
Yeah, I think her usage in Abyss is going to go up a lot. The next couple patches, especially.
there is one complaint I wanted to mention, which I haven't, and it's she suffers the same problem which Ayaka, Mona, and Sayu suffers, and it's whenever there's a shift, too big of a shift between the planes on the whenever you're moving, she just gets randomly stuck sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen. There's like a rock sticking out of the ground, or you're going up steps or something, and it like she just gets stuck. Yeah,
Yep.
that's an annoying thing that they seem to have not been able to figure out, even for characters like Ayaka, Mona. They made it a little better, but it's still not really that
Still not
great.
perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, it seems. Oh, I was gonna say.
No. Go ahead.
Doesn't really seem like there are many more questions. Everyone okay if we move on to the next topic? Yeah? All right. So the next topic is going to be Heizou. Heizou. I gotta get used to saying that. We're going to go in and talk about our boy Heizou, because this is going to move into the stuff where we're talking about the 2.8 live stream and everything they showed off there. So I will say that I think that he looks cool. He looks like a lot of fun. I'm excited to build him and try him out. He looks like a good driver, but I am nervous about some parts of his kit. Primarily that it looks like he has almost no CC outside his burst, and his charging punch thing looks like it has very small AoE, and I'm not sure like how good is it. Is it going to be like Jean's skill, you know, where I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it, but he does look really fun. I really like what they did with his animations, like having the whole kickboxing thing. Like when they were showing him off, I could not tell what was his skill and what was his like auto attacks and stuff. It's just so flashy and cool. But it's just weird. It's definitely a step away from what they normally do with animo characters, and I'm a little nervous. It's kind of like Kazuha if Kazuha were more of just a sub DPS and had no buffing, and I don't know how good that is. But yeah, what does everyone else think? I don't know.
I see him as Zhao. Like, just think Zhao, that's like a 4-star version of how Zhao plays, not what Zhao is. Like, how you play Zhao or how you build a team for Zhao is what I see like Heizou's play style leaning towards. And I think there's no problem with that. Like I said, I made a video talking about this as well. It's like, I think we are going to start shifting away from thinking of a Nemo as a more supportive element. I think they need to take a Nemo units going forward to be playing a more on-field carry role, because like any more supports you put into the game that uses Viridescence, you're always going to compete with Kazuha. Why continue to push that boundary? Why? Like, there's no point. Kazuha is so good, so proficient at doing what he does, and depending on whether a Nemo reacts with Dendro, why would you ever push that boundary any further than we already have it? Right? I just don't think it's necessary anymore. So that's why going forward, I think for the most part, Anemo units are going to be more on-field centric carry. At least I think that's the smart move, because if they do another Viridescent Anemo support unit, I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about like if that's a good idea or not. Because right, are you not competing with Kazuha?
Yeah,
if you are, how are you going to beat him?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I kind of think that like thinking about it like that, I'm starting to see like, oh, he could be a normal attack carry. Like you could put Yunjin on a team with him, and maybe like, you know, Yelan or something like that. and she'll buff him, and you can still run him 4-piece VV. Like, he'll still swirl Hydro and shred that for your sub DPS. But that's interesting. I didn't really think about it. Like, I'm so used to building, that's exactly what you're saying. I'm so used to building Animo units like just a shredder, CC shredder, that I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it like Zhao. Yeah, but no, that makes sense, because if that's the case, he's gonna be the best Animo driver. Like, Sucrose right now is the best Animo driver, but he's probably gonna take that spot.
The going on with what you guys were saying, the very first time I saw Heizou, I actually thought of Xiao, just like Walrus said. Actually, I was thinking about this on the morning while I was thinking about what we were going to talk about the podcast, and I thought Heizou looks more similar to Xiao on the way he was intended to be played. If you look at the whole presentation of the character, it was more about attacking. It was not about crowd controlling. It was not about supporting. It was about attacking. Most of the kit is about attack, and the only crowd control thing that Heizou does is with his burst. But even that, you could argue that it was meant to do attack damage more than support damage. It was meant to be on field. So I think personally that we are probably not going to be building Heizou the normal way, that is 4-piece Redescent Veneer, but instead it's going to be 2-piece Redescent and 2-piece attack, probably, because if we take Xiao as the baseline, Xiao scales with attack, and Heizou, maybe he will not scale with Elemental Mastery, so it won't be doing a lot of good with it. So I don't know, it's just a theory, but it was nice to hear that you guys had similar thoughts to me.
As it was mentioned before, I personally thought about Heizou as you slap 4-piece VV on him, and he's using the artifacts which you would normally not use, which is basically all of the DPS artifacts. So they have more usage rather than just aiming for the EM main set pieces, which you mostly would do with Animo units.
Yeah, I think 4-piece VV is still going to be his best in slot, but I do think that he will be built like a DPS. The only reason I think 4-piece VV is going to be really good for him is because, like I said, you're probably going to have a sub DPS. Like, he's going to be the driver. So, like, whether you're using Beidou or Yelan or Xinchu or whoever's your sub DPS, I think it's still going to be really valuable to shred the resistances for those units. But that being said, I think that he'll probably be built with crit and Animo damage, because there's kind of no reason not to, I guess.
There's also an aspect where we can think of what miHoYo may plan to do with Dendro. How Heizou might be an indication of what they planning to do with Dendro.
Yeah.
But then, once again, we first need to know everything about Sumeru and what the reaction we'll obtain there.
Yeah, I don't know if he really points towards anything with Dendro, because we just don't really know what it's gonna do, and maybe Dendro supports will be really good for Heizou. I'm not sure, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. That I don't really have much else to say about him. I can't wait to have a punchy character in game. Like, finally a character that punches.
Yeah, I think for the most part, if I do end up getting Heizou, I'm just gonna play him. I'm gonna try to play him with Yelan, and I don't know, maybe Zhongli, and then like a Bennett. I don't know. I don't know what he scales off of. I don't know. But I definitely want to play him as an on-hit, like a battle mage. I've been, like, if you guys know me, I've been having this wet dream about a battle mage in this game for the longest time. So yeah, I'm gonna go all in.
Yeah, I think that he's gonna make good use of my Lost Prayer, and I'm excited to try him out with like Yunjin and a couple other characters because he seems like he's gonna do a lot of normal attacks. I don't know. I think he's got good synergies with like it kind of makes sense. Like you've got characters like Ayato, his burst will buff normal attack damage. So I see like some comps where you have like a taser comp with Heizou. Or Heizou, God, I can't say that right. Heizou, and you're doing like Ayato, Beidou, Yelan, Heizou or something. It's just gonna be nuts. You're just gonna have, you know, electricity and hydro everywhere, and then you've got all this buffing. You can use Yunjin and Zhongli for like a Geo version of it, and that would be really cool. Thinking about it now, yeah, I can actually see a lot of team possibilities for him built that way. I'm kind of curious what his passives are going to be. You know, they always have those 2 Ascension talent passives, and I don't think they mentioned really anything about that in this stream.
They made him use the Solar Pearl as a weapon as well. If you guys caught that, that means I don't know like what that means. Does he scale off of what crit damage? Running a Solar Pearl on him? Why though? So
it's basically because of the normal and charge attack buff.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Also, to answer Flo's question, they on the live stream they actually did said that one of the passives is going to be that he enhances the movement speed of the entire team, like the same thing that Racer and other units have.
Oh, you
that
mean
you run faster?
It's not movement. Yeah, it's not. That's the exploration talent. Like, yeah, they did say that. It's the same as Kazuha and Razor and Kaya. It's a 20% reduction in stamina consumption. It's not movement speed.
Okay.
But I'm talking about his like his combat passives.
Oh yeah. No,
yeah, because those are usually huge. Like those usually, I mean, that's what makes, you know, that's where Kazuha's buffing is. That's where Yelan's buffing is. So I have no idea what they're gonna do with that. Like, I'm kind of curious if they're gonna do anything like skill resets or anything like that, because he looks like a very combo heavy character. The last thing I will say for him is that I really hope his burst is like 40 cost, 12-second cooldown. Like, we haven't had one of those characters in an eternity. And like, can he please just have a low burst cost? Like, his burst is literally just a like one hit kick with an explosion after. I think that it would be a lot, his CC would be a lot better and stuff if his burst was, you know, 40 cost and really low cooldown.
Yep. You know, Flo, of course we can have that if you can fork out a C4 maybe.
It's literally gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be like his C4 or something.
You know how they do it. Like, it's gonna have like maybe 60 or 70 costs, and if you get C4 and it lowers to 40, and now you literally have like a freaking Tekken character.
Like, yeah, it's kind of what, yeah, it's like a fighting game character. Kind of what it seems like.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we could open it up for questions already. I don't know if anyone has anything else they really want to say. Okay, so chat. Any chatters in there that anyone got any questions about Heizou? Otherwise, we can move on to the other aspect of the 2.8 live stream. Do y'all?
Very interesting.
Oh, what?
Yeah. No, I was going to say very interesting question from Nat.
Yeah. We can go into that, and then we'll go into Exhausted Axolotl. So Nat said, would any of you have preferred an Animo healer or damage buffer like Jean or Bennett, but specifically meant for Animo? Like, so would we have wanted Heizou to be a buffer for like Zhao or something like that? I'll just go ahead and say no, kind of, because I'm hoping that Dendro has a really good support like that. Like, I'm hoping Dendro has a buffer or something that's really good for Animo, like in terms of damage buffing, or even something that just synergizes well with CC. Like, a lot of Animo units have CC, so like I've mentioned before, I think it'd be cool if there's a Dendro unit that puts up like a ring, and then when Zhao plunges, it pushes enemies into it and they get stabbed by thorns. And so they get stuck in place. They can't be pushed out of his plunge, which is really a big deal for Zhao. And then also you give extra damage as well, just by pushing them into that. Or maybe there's like a spike pit that a character makes. And I know that's kind of stretching it, but like something like that. Like they, you make like a dendro trap and then you just CC the enemies into it for big damage. I think that would be cool. What does everyone else think about this question?
I personally would like to see some more animal resistance shred available, because currently, unless you have a C4 gene or you have Zhongli, there is no other sources of animal resistance shred.
Me personally, I would have to say we have seen that the more units that are specialized on buffing a specific element are coming through, like for example Goro, Sarah, or Geo and Electro respectively, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that maybe in the future there is going to be more units that will buff a specific element. But regarding the question, would I have wanted Heizou particularly to be that buffer? I don't think so, because I feel very satisfied with what I'm seeing from Heizou at the moment, and it's I think it's also very smart that they are releasing a unit that is not a support from the Anemo element, because until this point, like Flo and the Walrus said, we are just accustomed to Anemo being a supportive element, so doing something different is by far more refreshing. And yeah, I think Heizou is great the way that they designed him until this point.
Yeah, to answer the question, that I do think I agree with everyone else in that right now, even let's just go down the line that yes, he was designed as an Anemo support, great. Who really benefits from that, right? Like how many people would want to pull this character to reap the benefits? And it's mostly the Zhao mains, which I'm gonna be honest, man, it's a dying breed out here. The fields are barren with the Zhao mains. They've been shafted quite enough, and I know that's a very niche unit, and I do think, like everyone else is saying, that it's going to be coming down the line, because we first need more units like this to justify having buffing for this. Like, let's say we have 3 or 4 Anemo carries, then yeah, getting one of these Anemo buffers is going to be very valuable for people, because like, okay, I want my Anemo characters to start clapping cheeks now. So not yet.
Yeah, that's a super good point, is that we need like having a 4-star that is like Zhao, that's like an Anemo DPS. I think that's huge. Like, that does increase the amount of players who have an Anemo DPS, and then it makes a supporting character like that like a lot more viable. So that's a really good point. Let's jump to the next question. Do y'all think Hoyoverse may make Heizou scale off something other than attack, like Kuki or Yelan, and he can get damage off Elemental Mastery, or do you think he will be normal attack with an Elemental Goblet and crit? I think we all kind of answered this already. We're kind of leaning towards the crit end of things, just based on what we're seeing. And then I did see that someone asked if, like Zach asked if he can use triple EM. And I'm gonna say that if his auto attack had no ICD, then swirl DPS would probably be better than crit DPS. But because his auto attack is probably gonna have internal cooldown like every other unit, I just don't see, swirl damage outdoing it. Like,
until this point, we haven't actually seen Heizou do swirl with any particular unit. Like, we saw him showcased by himself, so we would have to wait to see what the mechanics are for that to work out, or if it won't work out. So that's my point of view on that.
Tiny Meow also asked whether Heizou is going to be fragile like most of the other catalyst users going to be. And I'm gonna say no to this question just because Heizou is going to be a melee catalyst. And I think just because he's anime, he's gonna have some kind of CC on his charge attack to push back the enemies. Or even at the end of the normal attack string, possibly.
I think personally that almost every character that you play when it's meant to be a DPS, they are kinda fragile on a certain level. Some may have a little more durability than the others, but on regular basis we run shields not only because we want to be invulnerable to damage. We also run shields so we cannot get interrupted. So maybe you should be running a shield in the future, but not only for pure survivability, but also for being able to finish your combos and stuff like that. That's what I think, but it could also be what Matthew said. So I don't know.
Alrighty, I think we could probably move on to the next topic. Yeah. So we're gonna move into talking about the just 2.8 kind of like general event lineup, with the Golden Apple Archipelago. We're gonna talk about what we expect for that, the quest. You know, they got some story going on. We got Kazuha, Mona, Xinyan, and who's the other? Isn't there another featured character? Yoimiya? No, she's not featured in the event. Who is it?
We have
Kazuha, Fischl, Mona.
Fischl.
That's
Fischl.
Yeah,
That's what I forgot. Okay. So yeah, we get. I was doubtful they would bring back the Golden Apple Archipelago. I was really doubtful, but I think that they realized the potential of having this as like a seasonal event, and that people loved it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see it come back. So like, how's everyone else feeling about that?
Well, you see, my feeling was almost perfectly encapsulated by you forgetting who the last character was. It's just, I think the Archipelago is definitely a popular event, a popular summer event, I guess, at that. But I'll be honest, I don't know how many people would exactly be like, you know, like over the moon about this particular event. Newer players or relatively newer players. I'd say if you joined after Inazuma, you never experienced it. I'm sure like people are like, okay, let's see what this is about. But it's gonna go away, right? I'm assuming it's gonna go away. Like it's a season.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be temporary. You go and you explore and you find chests and do all that stuff. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of really liked the first one. It was nice to have a zone that you could go like find loot and stuff. And I mean, I know everyone complained that it was temporary, but my response to that was always like, everyone, like, if it weren't temporary, it's not like anyone would go back. Like once you clear all the chests and do everything there, there's no reason for it to be permanent.
And that's actually hammering home another core thing that, you know, I think it's with these events. It's like whether you do it now, you don't do it, it doesn't matter. Like it's of no permanence. It doesn't matter. You do it, you don't do it. You get primo gems, you don't get primo gems. There's nothing like. I want to see them include more like limited event based. I think it's cool that they give you a 4-star weapon. They give you sometimes furniture. I think that's probably what at this point would get me more excited, is just to have much more exclusive items. To kind of show off the fact that you were around and you were active during this time or this era of Genshin. And I don't know, they haven't really come out with anything too spectacular in this regard.
if I may, I am actually very excited about the Golden Apple Archipelago, but not for the reasons that you guys were saying. The first time we got the Apple Archipelago, it was a tool, basically, to introduce us to Inazuma. And I think that they're going to use the Archipelago again as a tool to introduce us to Sumeru. I have this theory because when we saw the trailer, once it was finished, the entire trailer, the voice that was talking to us, it was talking about sandy beaches, how it was compared to forest and sand. And after that, they showed us the teaser to Sumeru, but they were talking about the Golden Apple Archipelago when they were comparing one to the other. So in a certain way, for me, it's very exciting to see that whenever we get the Golden Apple Archipelago, it's a sign that we're getting something new very soon. And the last time we got introduced to Kazuha, no, we did not get introduced to Kazuha. We got introduced to the boss, the Magu Kenki boss. And it might be that in this patch we might also get introduced to the very first world boss from Sumeru or something around those lines. So I am excited to see that this is going to be a preview to what we can expect in the future. So that by far excites me the most.
I wanted to touch on that because we know that the Golden Archipelago is a creation of Alice, right? Do you think we'll hear once again from Alice?
I don't. I don't think the archipelago was created by her entirely. I think she just
not fully, yes, but all of the mechanism which were placed there was all of the pretty much work by Alice for Klee at the time.
Yeah, I mean, she might be involved. I'm not sure.
Because now I thought of that, and it's like, perhaps in Golden Archipelago not only will be introduced what we might expect in the next region, but as well we will have the 1 year meeting with Alice, just like we do with Dying Slave.
Well, you see, if that's the case, now we're talking about lore, and I'll be honest, when it comes to event lore, I don't think it's Hoyoverse's strong suit. I think anything outside of the Archon quest, the lore kind of just falls a little flat, in my opinion, because I do think that for the most part, Hoyoverse just cares about the main Archon lore more. That's why I think more attention to consistency, story plot points and stuff it just feels better. Honestly, I don't want Alice to come back, because then if she does come back, like, sure, it's cool, but when it comes to story and how much it makes sense, and like, okay, you have time every year to like curate these kind of island adventures for your daughter, but you don't have time to step home and say hi to her or something like that, you know. It just, like, you rather spend the time to create these magical adventures. Like, I would assume she's spending a lot of time here, right? It puts into, because a lot of this stuff you would start questioning what kind of mother she is, like where her priorities are. And I know this is kind of stretching it, but when we're talking about character relationships, like, because I studied story writing, and I'm all for a great main quest, side quest type deal for story. But if we're talking about these characters and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, then, because if Alice were here doing this again and every year she does this and it just becomes like that's Alice's thing, then it wouldn't really make too much sense for her as a character to put this much time and effort into curing it. It just feels more of like a tool for Hoyoverse to be like, remember Alice and the Summer Islands, it's time to, enjoy that again, even though it's in the name of servicing Klee or servicing, the players. At the end of the day, it just becomes a tool. It's too obvious of a tool for Hoyoverse to get people to get into this cycle of every summer, it's Alice, it's the Summer Islands, get ready, it's gonna be a banger. Right?
Yeah,
I guess,
I would have to agree with that in the sense that, like, I think if Klee's not involved, then I don't expect to see Alice. I don't know what's going on with the Golden Apple Archipelago Islands, but you know, whether they're the same islands or different or whatever, I guess we'll find out. But yeah, if Klee's not involved, I don't think it would make sense. And I do think it would be a little cheesy to have it be like forced like that. Like, I think Alice is kind of a mystery, and maybe it would make her seem a little too predictable to have like a yearly, oh, you get to meet with Alice kind of thing. Even if that would be popular among the community, I think it kind of goes against her character design of being mysterious and like behind the scenes kind of deal.
But see, that's something that we should all question, because eventually we would have to ask the question: is Alice ever going to be playable, or is she never going to be playable and is always going to be like a background character that's always mysterious? Like,
I mean,
we have to ask.
I feel like I can pretty confidently say that she'll probably never be playable. Just a lot of the older characters in Genshin are dead, and a lot of them are specifically not playable, and they keep having this theme where like you don't get to play the old characters, you get to play the new generation. Like, you don't get the old Tengu that was friends with, you know, A. You get Sara. You don't get the old Oni that had her arm cut off. You get Ito. So I would highly doubt that she's going to be playable, especially with Klee being playable, essentially pointing to the new generation of Alice, which is Klee.
Well, there could be an argument then for Varka, because Varka is supposed to be an older generation than Jean and other playable characters, right? So,
well, he's the current acting Grandmaster. Well, not acting, but he's the current Grandmaster. Even if Jean is the acting Grandmaster, he is the current Grandmaster. So I don't think it's as big of a stretch for someone like Varka. Varka being more like, you know, just he's just not there right now. Whereas Alice is like hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years old.
I see that.
So I don't know. I kind of don't think that Alice will become playable. But I could be wrong. I also kind of don't think Dainsleif will be playable.
Wait, are you saying my guide from a year ago on how to maximize Dainsleif's DPS potential is going to waste?
I'm sorry to say it, but you know, that was a hilarious video though. That was such a good meme video.
Damn, I thought I was gonna finally get some praise from the community for being foresight with having some foresight. Well, guess gotta scrap that video now.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to.
Walrus's heart.
Yeah, you'll have to do a new guide for I have no idea. Heizou or something.
At this point, I'm gonna have to scrap my Alice guide too. Oh, that was in the works. I was just running some algorithm to figure out her best artifact set.
Well, it's obvious that Signora's best set is 4-piece Crimson Witch, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
I get it, cause she's. Oh, that still hurts, doesn't it? Less Signora fans, it just like literally be like, bro, why you gotta bring that up? I was having a great day. Today was going great.
I know that you guys loved La Senora, but in all honesty, for me, Tepe was the character that I wanted to C6 R5, but Tepe died and
Yeah,
he
Tepe
got robbed from us too soon.
Yeah, Tepe lives on as C6R5 in our hearts.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't have to be that sad, Dante, because if you don't know, the Japanese voice actor for Heizou is actually Tepe's voice.
Let's go! There we go.
Yeah, I go a little deeper than that. I was hoping like Tepe, Madam Ping would have made a great like on-off field like quick swap team, but you know, some things are just not meant to be, right? Not meant to be.
I'm waiting for a cloud retainer.
Right, cloud retainer. Oh man. Okay, well I don't know if anyone has really anything else to say about Golden Apple Archipelago, so we can take questions on that if there are any. I don't really know what people are gonna ask, but yeah, we can take questions again and spitball discussion until the next topic, which is coming soon. I'm gonna grab tea real quick though, so I will be right back.
Take your time.
Also, welcome Final Flame.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too actually before I go real quick. Yeah, Final Flame, welcome to the chat. Anyone that's not subscribed to Final Flame Latome, he's a OG Genshin content creator trying to come back, trying to build up his new channel. So give him some love. Okay, I'll be right back for real.
Yeah, I do agree with the fact that I think Mihoyo saves Varka for return to Mondstadt, and I was talking with Lei like months ago about it, and we were thinking that once the Dandelion Sea comes out, that's when we will see Varka potentially.
I remember talking with, I think it was both you and Lei some months ago, and I raised this question that simply angered you both to the high heaven. What if Varka,
He's not Geo, alright?
the Grandmaster from Mondstadt, is a Geo character? That would be beautiful for me. Wonderful.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I personally think that as a Grandmaster of Animo region, he has to be Animo unit as well.
But just imagine the possibilities. The Grandmaster that actually infuses every single weapon with Geo, with the Geo element. I would be set for life with my Mono Geo team.
I'm definitely more worried about Barca being a lolly. Yeah, like he could be Geo, freaking Electro. He can have no element, but as long as he's not a lolly, I think I'll be happy.
Well, it's pretty obvious he cannot be a lolly, but it can be a little bit different thing about being a shota.
I'm not so sure about not being a lolly. I'm just saying.
You never know. You never know.
Like every time you press E, he turns into a lolly. Hey.
I just got back, and it's not going to be his skill, Walrus. What are you talking about? It's his burst. Duh. After you use his burst, he gains 400% damage, and he also turns into a little girl. And that's just the way it is.
If you get C6, he becomes a muscle man. Instead, hey,
right.
You're the one. Hey, is it worth $1,500? And they on purposely designed like the muscular figure that you wish Ito was into C6 Varka. I'm just saying. That's how you milk the big bucks out of people.
Right.
There must be a Hoyoverse spy in here right now just taking notes. Like I gotta pitch this Adawe over tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we can move on to the next topic, which I don't know. Other than the Sumeru teaser, was there anything else in the live stream that I guess we could talk about the skins?
Wait. Did you say Sumeru teaser in the live stream? I don't think I caught that one, man. I don't think there was a Sumeru teaser in the live stream. It was on YouTube afterwards or like Twitter, but I didn't see no Sumeru teaser in the live stream. What?
Yeah,
that was. See a Sumeru teaser?
I saw what I thought to be a Sumeru teaser, and then it ended up to be a live stream code, and I was very confused by that because I could have sworn I saw some stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, I swear it was a PowerPoint presentation rather than a live stream.
Come on, guys,
and
don't be like that.
We were going back in time as well a few times.
Yeah, don't be like that, guys. Klee wanted to say hi to you. That's all that was happening. Come on.
Yeah,
right. Okay. I think we could move. I think we could talk about the Sumeru teaser part and all that. Man, that live stream was a freaking mess though. That was crazy. I definitely couldn't expect. I did not expect that to ever happen for one of those live streams. But it did make really good content for all of us.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
That was really quite the experience. If I do say so myself.
Yeah.
Especially try getting 2 hours of sleep and then going through that. Like, oh boy.
You're right. Yeah, like we wake up at the butt crack of dawn for these kinds of things, and like we're sitting there, we're all hyped up, and it just, oh man, what a mess.
Yeah, but the Sumeru teaser, I found it to be good, but I do think the hype, like, I know we meme about it, but like I do think some level of hype was definitely taken away, at least for the EN stream viewers, because it's just different. Like your first impression of something, that's why, like, why is there even a saying called, like, you know, leave a good first impression, right? Why is there a saying if it's not important? It's very important, and they butchered it. So I guess my first impression of Sumeru right now will always forever be a little, like, I don't know, sour, because while I think for the most part it felt good, like okay, you know, Sumeru, the music, of course, you know, what's his name, Yu Peng is nailing it, but there's something about that trailer that just felt like okay, still good though, still good, just I think Inazuma hit harder, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Inazuma, I do have to admit, it was the first region, like whole region, that we got added on to the game. So I kind of feel like it's just got this special place where, like, we had no expectations for, like, what we had no idea what was gonna happen, and it's pretty. I mean, I think it all pretty. Inazuma is pretty awesome. When it came out, everyone was super hyped and super excited. I don't remember, were people hyped like before it came out or only after? Because I kind of remember some people being kind of skeptical about it, like, before it came out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think that the teaser itself was a lot better seeing the actual place than seeing concept art, because seeing concept art was cool and all, but like actually getting to see the in-game what parts of Sumeru look like, I think is way better. I'm a little, I think we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but I'm a little disappointed that we already basically have confirmed that Kusanali is going to be like a Lolly Archon, because she's the one we assume talking to us. And also, if you look at the statue of Seven, it's like a little girl sitting in it. So that's gonna, I'm a little disappointed in that personally, just because I feel like that's maybe a trope that, like, if what they're doing is like, oh, she's a little girl, but she's super wise because she's an Archon of wisdom, like, I don't know, they're gonna have to really convince me to make it more interesting than that, or else I'm gonna find the Dendro Archon to be a little bit basic. But those are just my personal opinions. Other than that, I am excited for the region. I feel like Mondstadt didn't really scratch that, like, forest itch, like dense forest itch. And seeing that there's gonna be like an actual jungle in Sumeru and all that stuff is really cool. I'm nervous for the desert, because I feel like the desert, I don't know, man. The whole point of deserts is that they're empty and barren, and so, like, we don't need that.
And there's gonna be a mechanic called heat stroke, where if you don't drink this, like, make this beverage, you're gonna start losing health and you're gonna consume stamina faster, and you start to hallucinate, and it's gonna make traversing the lands extremely difficult and annoying and kind of like Dragon Spine, but not really.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
please.
I'm nervous for that kind of stuff. Like, they gotta make the desert kind of interesting, like, in some way, or else it's gonna be kind of pointless for it to be there.
We were talking about this flow, and I was mentioning about being like caravans going on a cyclical round on the desert, so the desert might feel a little more alive with nomads going over there. So maybe that's something that we could see, that I personally would love to see, because it would bring a new mechanic to the game where you see different NPCs every single time, and maybe there are quests tied to very specific camps when you find them and stuff like that. But I wouldn't want the whole heat stroke mechanic that Walrus was saying right now. I'm dreading if that's what happens. Walrus, if that happens, I'm blaming you.
Oh. you know it's gonna happen though. Like, come on, let's be serious. You guys don't think, and like there's gonna be some BS desert like puzzle in the middle of the desert where you're gonna have to be chugging like 20 of your drinks to run back and forth between multiple monuments to figure out or you can just watch Takajiji, you know, like, hey.
That's
I
my
thought
Yeah, like
when
I
first
mean,
it came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is probably going to be like a desert mechanics sometime later, or like when we have Nathan, which is the Pyro region, we're gonna have some kind of mechanic similar to that.
yeah, it's coming. It's coming eventually. Let's be honest. Like, yeah, let's just embrace it. Let's just all sit here and embrace the inevitability of that mechanic.
Yeah, if anything, I think we should lean into it a little bit. I think we should roleplay along, like when, like it's turning into summer for me right now. So like, heck, I'll turn off my AC. I'll shut all my windows and doors. You know, I'll crank up my.
Like on a treadmill with
Yeah.
with one of those masks that limits like oxygen intake.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All while playing Genshin on my phone, which is like playing hot potato, so that like I can have the true experience of being in a desert.
Like, who needs Hoyoverse VR when you can do it yourself, right?
I admire you, Flo. That's dedication to a craft. I admire you.
Like, I built Genshin VR in my bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
We have Genshin VR, so we don't need to buy anymore.
Yeah, Walmart Genshin VR, exactly. Yeah, but what is everyone else thinking about Sumeru as a whole?
I think it's gonna be fun. I think the music is gonna be top notch. I think really the music is what's gonna really do it for me. At this point, the music could suck ass, and I would still be like, dude, do you guys hear the music? Like, I think it's its strong suit. I guess it's also because how should I put this? I haven't really been exposed to that culture very much, so being able to kind of see it firsthand and have the composer right now, Yupeng, the man just doesn't miss. Like, what can I say? He doesn't miss.
Yeah, no,
So-
he does really crazy work. So I am interested to see what he does, especially because like the cultures that Sumeru are supposed to be based off of, like he could put out some bangers if we're being honest with like the kind of music that he has at his disposal for the region.
Yeah, and you know he always sourced from the local talent as well. It's just you know you're gonna get something authentic, but in a way fusion, but modern. It's so crazy what this man can come up with when it comes to anything that's like sound related. It's just a god at this point. Yeah, I'm sure the aesthetics. I'm all for it. I love like the kind of weird, not weird, but like the tropical, rainforesty, beachy vibe. It gives me the like the feeling of like a deserted tropical island, like kind of like that, like a paradise island or something. So I'm really interested in that. I think it's gonna be a very relaxing area for the most part. I say that and then like we get the whole heat stroke thing and it's not relaxing at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
that's one thing I am interested. Actually, we should all pay attention because when Inazuma came out, I was like, are we gonna have more enemies? Are the enemies gonna be higher level? Like, are they gonna be closer together? And yeah, they were. Like, and Inazuma definitely has more dense enemies, more elites, more of all that kind of stuff. So like, I'm really curious to see what they do with mob density in Sumeru. Like, are we going to have more mobs that are higher level and stuff like that? Like, I don't know, but that'll be interesting to see when it comes out. Like, that's a big part that I'm looking for.
I am personally looking forward to the environment that they're going to give us. I was talking about this earlier, and personally, I want like a bazaar. Like, I want there to be an area where it's heavily populated with people that are trading, and you can just hear the music while interacting, finding some side quests perhaps, and just giving you that feel that you are in different time, a different region. For reference, maybe I know this sounds kind of ridiculous, but for reference, watching the Aladdin movies from Disney could be one of the things that you could probably think when it comes to a bazaar. So, kind of like that would be great for me.
You know, not to, I'm just being real here, not to burst your bubble, but I think you're gonna see a couple familiar faces in in Sumeru. I'm specifically talking the NPCs, my friend. I think when it comes to immersion, that has taken me out of it a little bit, and I think this kind of touches on the topic of the whole Twitter debacle. And I know, whoa, Walrus, Twitter, do we really want to touch that? But I think they do have a point. I'm not here to fight for some sort of justice or whatnot, but when it comes to story immersion, like Dante was talking about, is that having locals be different in each region definitely adds to the overall experience of the story. And I think Mondstadt, Liyue, and now Inazuma has really missed the mark. Like, at least the potential of showing us, you know, diversity. And I think not Natlin. I'm already like getting ahead of myself. And especially with Sumeru being quite different from what we've come across. It would be such a shame if they don't take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree entirely. Like, I think we're all like treading on eggshells a little bit here with the conversation, but like, simply put, Sumeru is a nation that has a lot of sun, and the people there are living in partial desert. So like, why are they as pale as, like, you know, people living in these other areas where they're not exposed to as much sunshine? Like, Inazuma is a cloudier area in general, I guess you could say. It makes the immersion seem kind of weird. I would agree. I was hoping that we would see dark-skinned people, but if you like, obviously looking at even just looking at the stuff they showed us, you see people walking around a little area in what looks to be like a city or something, and they're all light-skinned. And Sino is light-skinned. We know that. He's from Sumeru.
I don't know what Kusanadi's cooking up with that knowledge, but if it's like some sort of cream or product, like over-the-counter stuff, hey, bro, if that's what they can do to your skin in like the severe heat in the desert, maybe that can canonically pass. I'm literally just waiting for them to pull something like that out of their ass, like, oh, you know, it's magic, bro. Relax.
Yeah, a tiny meow just said SPF like 900,000 or something. Like,
yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, but I was actually gonna say, we talked about this a bit before the stream, and Walrus having a lot of knowledge on Chinese culture and stuff like that, like insight that, you know, a lot of us don't have. To me, as like a Westerner, I think it's really weird Like, I find it really strange that there's like no variance in skin tone whatsoever. But like, I noticed that if you play any gacha game, they're all like that. Like, I play PGR, they all have the same skin tone. It's all light skin, all very pale. And every gacha game I've ever seen, it's always like that. And so Walrus kind of gave us some information before the stream, and I thought it was pretty useful, pretty informative to know like why this might be going on. So if Walrus wants to speak on that, then yeah.
Sure, yeah. So I'm not gonna go like too political and heavy, but I just want everybody to know that there is this connotation in China, and you guys can take this information and go ask other like Chinese-based content creators. I'm sure they will tell you the same. Is that in China? I mean, let's just first understand and agree on the fact that the Chinese market is the biggest mobile gaming market when it comes to expenditures, right? They spend a lot of money. So it's of course in these companies' best interest to cater towards a Chinese standard, and that's for power, for beauty, for whatever. And it just so happens, it's unfortunate, and I don't mean this offensively, and I by no means think this way, even though I spend a lot of time there, but it is the norm in China to that people with lighter skin tones are considered more beautiful. Yes, it's weird to say, and it's a shame that we're even having this discussion in this century, but it's still very much true over there in China that if you are a darker skin toned individual, you are considered lesser. That's in ways of beauty, because you are assumed to be a field worker, meaning you spend a lot of time in the sun doing labor work because you are uneducated or poor or both or unwanted. So that's why, and I can tell you for a certainty because I live firsthand in the country, and just hearing people talk about southeastern like African, it's getting uncomfortable just talking about it, but like it's true. That's very they don't see it as offensive at all. In fact, they will say it to your face, but like, oh, you're getting like a little dark, like you should lighten up a bit, like have you tried this service and whatnot. It's like it's normal. That's all I can say. And we can cry about it all we want in the West, but nothing will change in China, because that is the beauty standard there. We can't get away from it, and there's nothing to change about it. It's just what it is.
Yeah, so basically likely it's just that Hoyo is worried that their largest market won't bring in any sales if they release like a 5-star with darker skin tone. And it's concerning for me because like from the immersion standpoint, like Xinyan, like, okay, in a way it would, I don't want to say it would be better if they only had pale skin people, but it's just, to me, it's very bizarre. Like, if you're going to have a character like Xinyan and you're going to do it, you're going to go for it. Like, you can't just have the one. Like, I find it really strange that Xinyan is the only dark skin character. And I think that at this point, they've already done it. They should just go ahead and do more of it, Like, if we get all the way to Natlan and there's just like Xinyan is still the only dark skin character, I just think that's kind of just weird. KMI says, does Kaya count? No, because Kaya is from Conria and they lived underground, and his cult, like, if anything, Kaya should actually be light skinned. Maybe the cavalry captain thing, it's like more of a indication that Kaya spends a lot of time outside. I don't know why he's.
Sorry to interrupt. Just to tack on before we go any further, the standard, everything I talked about, is predominantly for female. So men could be perceived as attractive to have a darker skin tone, and it's normal. But of course, preferably lighter to show status, but yeah, it's okay. Men can get away with it, is what I'm saying.
Right. So that would make sense with Kaya then.
With Kaya, yeah.
But yeah,
But he's not a 5-star.
exactly. And so like, what would be what I'm most scared of is, let's say 3 years from now, we have 5 dark-skinned characters. All of them are 4 stars, and they're from regions where there's absolutely no dark-skinned characters. Like that's gonna break my brain a little bit with immersion. So I really hope they do something about that. But that is a conversation happening on Twitter right now.
Yeah. Me personally, as someone who is not from North America, I'm not from the States, and I am tanned by by skin color, by the way I was born. I can say that even though I think it's important to represent people from every singular skin tone or race, I think that one of the things that we should also be almost protecting is the fact that we should always have a standard on how these characters are introduced. I want them to make sense. Like, for example, I don't want you to introduce a character that has a certain skin tone just for the sake of it, just because that makes it more diverse. I want it to make sense. I want it to be a reason for it. Because if there's no rhyme or reason to it, what's the point? You're just doing it to satisfy a checkbox. You're not doing it because you actually like the character or because you planned the character or is well thought out.
Right, like Blizzard.
Netflix adaptations.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be an example, exactly. So one of the things that I always champion is quality over aesthetics. I want a character that's well built, and if you're making the character to be, for example, of a certain race, perfect. But make it make sense. Make it be something that is part of the story, not something that it's forced. And personally, I genuinely hope that the longer we get introduced to more regions, like for example Sumeru and Natlan, we get introduced to more characters that, yes, are going to be diverse, but that they're going to make sense why they are the way they are. And not just because, hey, look, we made this new character, have at it. So, in a certain way, I am also holding Hoyoverse to a certain standard, but it's on the level of make it make sense, make it be a quality character, and don't be cheap on it. That's basically my take on it. I don't know what you guys think when it comes to this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that like a good example of a company doing it wrong is Blizzard with Overwatch. They literally created a graph for diversity, and they were like, how can we maximize diversity? And like that's how you end up with characters that are really cringy, not believable, not representative of actual diversity, but more representative of, you know, some computer nerds attempt at synthesizing diversity. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely got to make sense. It needs to fit in. But the fact that we're entering a region where it would make sense and they're not doing it, I think that is the reason for alarm for so many people. But I definitely don't see anything changing for Sumeru's release. Maybe Natlan we can hope for, but I think it's already too late for Sumeru. It's probably already, I mean, they probably already have a ton of characters done and NPCs and quests and stuff, and I doubt that they're going to go back and change anything.
Yeah, and I would even say like they're just gonna brush this under the rug going forward. Like, what are we gonna do? Really, like, can Twitter probably have some authority? I mean, air quote authority or influence on companies or content creators in the West, but they're not touching Dawei and his empire over in China. Like there's literally nothing they can do, say, that would like make Dawei lose any bit of focus, drive, sleep, whatever you want to call it. So, and it's not gonna affect profits either. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, gacha games have done this for years and years and years and years, and it's not like, you know, just because Genshin's the first big gacha game in the West, it's not like we're going to be able to change that. Yeah, but you know, I guess it is nice that we're talking about it. But yeah, like I said, I don't see a lot of actionable things happening. I just don't think that they'll really care, like you're talking about. But yeah, it's interesting. That's for sure. Yeah. I think we could take questions for like Sumeru and stuff like that. If chat has anything they want to ask about with our thoughts on that. I do want to say, leading into Sumeru, guys, be careful. I know that we have Kazuha coming up, and a lot of you want to dump all your primos on him. But I'm just saying, you know, like before Inazuma, we had the same situation. Well, people were saving for the Archon, but like Ayaka came out, you got Yoimiya, and like there's gonna be a lot of units dropping right at the start of Sumeru. And for the first 1 or 2 patches, it's going to feel like you're just never gonna have enough primo gems. So yeah, be wary that even though it's, you know, you're gonna want to dump everything on Kazuha, be wary of the future.
Be responsible with your wishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Me personally, I am planning on getting a Kazuha because I unfortunately had to skip it the first time he was featured on a banner. But I mean, if you already have a Kazuha, or if you're planning on using Dendro with some of the units you already have, then be careful with how you're going to be spending your wishes. I can agree on that.
I'm gonna chime in on this because Kazuha is gonna be just fine. He's gonna sit really nicely, and for people who've been wanting to get him so you can build certain teams, you're gonna have a great time. And I think the only thing that some people might be affected is that if you're like a trend chaser, you want to always be with, you know, what's poppin', as the youngsters say it these days. Definitely, for sure, Sumeru characters, Sumeru like Dendro comps are gonna be what's hot and new. Like everywhere you go, people are gonna be talking about it. If you are somebody who gets easily bogged down because like, oh man, I finally got Kazu and I thought I caught up with, you know, the cool trend, now everybody's moved on. It's just what it is, right? You guys know, like, because content creators are gonna be making content for it. They're gonna talk about it, so it's very normal that conversations will shift away from our current teams and traditions into more like Dendro focus. And I don't want people to think that just because of that somehow Kazuha is devalued. Yeah, he's only devalued if you care about the trend, and that's all I wanted to say.
That's very true. That is so true. I think I see this a lot with free-to-play players, is that they feel the need to pull every 5-star, and it creates this like they're running on a treadmill that they can't keep up on. And you just don't need to play that game, guys. Like if you have characters you already love and a new character comes out and they're super hyped and everyone's hype about it, you know, don't let FOMO get the best of you. It's not worth it, because like really it just matters if you love the characters that you have, and that the ones that you do get, you don't need to always be thinking about the ones you don't have. Let's see, I did see a question. Hanoji asked, do you guys think we'll get a free Dendro character or only Dendro Traveler? I think we did talk about this in a previous podcast. I am of the opinion that yeah, we will get a free Dendro 4-star.
I believe we are going to get a dendro 4-star, but not immediately. It's probably going to be something like what happened on Inazuma. That almost 4 or 5 months in, there was a an event that gave us a free 4-star Electro character. I think it was Beidou. So maybe
This
they
was
will
on
do
the-
the same.
I'm pretty sure that was on 2.0. Because
It
then we
was?
get right. Yeah, I think so.
But
Because then
yeah,
2.1 gave us the fish sword.
I see. The thing is, personally, I feel that they're going to give it, but not right away, because they want people to try to get dendro units by pulling. Like, you have to work for it first. We will eventually give you a dendro unit, but for the same reason that we were talking about the whole thing of fear of missing out, I think that they might want to milk that and make people be afraid of missing the opportunity to play with dendro units. So that's what I'm leaning towards, but don't take my word for it.
Yeah, I think Hoyoverse, for the most part, they don't really punish free-to-play players. They just make you feel you're always like an era behind what's popping. And in essence, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like now we're gonna nerf Kazuha to the ground. Okay, the only time they did that was with Venti, and I've talked about this a bajillion times why they did that, and I stand by my ground that Venti was a broken character. That's why they did it. If anyone is here sitting like shaking, being like, "Oh my God, what if I pull Kazuha and he gets the win?" No, not gonna happen. All right. Kazuha is gonna stay relevant, way more relevant than Venti. Venti went from like, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if you guys have the number. He was like 80% usage or 90% usage in Abyss, straight down to like, I think he went down to 50% and then eventually 40, 30, and now he's sitting at 20 something percent. No, Kazuha is going to sit much better in all of his current team options. And like I said, like we were talking about this earlier, that I don't think Hoyoverse is going to prioritize more Anemo-based support units either, because then they're directly competing with Kazuha, so it's pointless making 4-star viridescent supports. Like, what's the point? You got Sucrose, you got Kazuha. There's no like slot in there for it anymore. Look at Heizou. Look at what Heizou's up to, right? Like, even if he ends up using the viridescent, he's not going to be played in the similar way for as Sucrose and Kazuha, and it just adds more diversity, which puts more pressure on future Anemo characters. You got Jean, who's a healer. You got Kazuha, who is a viridescent support. You got Sucrose, which is like a 4-star version of Kazuha. Now you have Heizou, who can act as an on-field driver if people want, like, and then you got Zhao. What else do you have? Like, are Anemo units just gonna go extinct, right? So you gotta start thinking into these possibilities going forward for these character designs and when it comes to FOMO and whatnot. There's only so many things Hoyoverse can do that makes you feel like you're left out. And if you're smart about your decisions, you're always going to be able to stay at least on track with what's good, what's bad, and at least for your account. And I think that's all that you should be worried about, because any more than that, you're gonna need a fat bank account to solve those problems, or like just some ungodly amount of RNG, which it's unreliable and it's not healthy for people to play the game that way.
Exactly. Yeah, just play the game at your own pace. Get the characters that, like, I think the people that I see that have the best experience, they save, they snipe the characters they want, and they don't worry. They have a great time. They're not wishing one wish at a time, praying for something to happen. It's I think it's a better way to approach the game. I did see another question, couple questions. Thoughts of verticality of Sumeru, tree climbing, cliffs, sand dunes. Yeah, I did notice that it did look extremely vertical, based on what they shared, and from what I'm seeing from the chasm, a lot of people are not super excited about the verticality of the chasm. I kind of like it. I think it adds it makes it more interesting to explore, but I can understand why, like, it is kind of a pain in the butt. Genshin climbing isn't exactly the best. Like
honestly, I think they need to do better with the mini map, because with the chasm, it highlighted an issue where there's multiple layers and levels, and it's not fun looking for like a small little crevice or hole to go in so you can drop down like 300 miles just so you can access the layer. But on the mini map, it's just all labeled on the same spot. You can run to it and it's like, oh damn, it's supposed to be here. Oh well, I guess it's either above me or underneath me. I don't know. God, well, it's time to find out. Unless you watch TakaGG, you know, I'm just saying. At
yeah,
this
it's
point,
so true.
sometimes it feels punishing to play the game like by yourself, and I am somebody who does that, and I get made fun of constantly. Like, just playing the game as it's designed to be played, just figuring things out yourself, and people are like, oh. But that, you know, like I think that's the frustrating part, is if Sumeru has more of this, like people are just gonna watch guides. I feel like more than 60-70% of the player base probably plays the game through guides. I'll be honest, I don't think for the most part people are actually playing the game themselves. Like they look for guides for best builds, best teams, how to beat puzzles, how to beat story goals.
Yeah, but you know, that's not even just a Genshin problem. Like Lost Ark, for instance, people freaking I mean,
oh yeah,
it's not like there's room for variance. You can just do whatever you want, really. I mean, as long as you're not blind, I think you can tell what skills do a lot of damage and what ones don't. And like people constantly, they're like, what exactly what skills, what build, what set, what? And it's like, bruh, just figure it out. Yeah, just play around with it. It's not that complicated. Like, but people make it complicated by not even giving it. They just assume it's so complicated that they can't get it. Like, oh, this YouTuber must be the only person that has the information that I need. But like, no, like oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to finish up. It's just that I find it really weird and bizarre that we've been conditioned to find what's the best, and it all, of course, it always started because of competition, right? Like in a PvP game, you know, of course you want that competitive edge, but we've been conditioned to the point where even now in like I would argue be a single player RPG game, being Genshin, gacha as well, we're still conditioned to do that. Like, no one's gonna punish you for finding the Geoculus a little later, the Animalculus a little later. There's no punishment whatsoever. They are not time-gated content either. No puzzles are time-gated content. But I guess the only thing that's making people want to do that is the Hoyoverse's FOMO tactics. So it kind of all comes back into a loop that's, you know, is it really about PvP and a competitive edge, or is it's that feeling that I won't be able to enjoy myself if I don't rush through this and get the primo gems to get the characters?
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
I kind of feel like it's partially the gacha and like wanting to farm for primos, but it's also partially just the community. Like, I think that the Genshin community as a whole, generally speaking, speed runs content very quickly, like the day it comes out. Like, I would say 80% of people do that. And so if you're not a part of that, you're like out of the conversation. Like, if you go on Reddit, if you go on Twitter, if you go on Discord, everyone's talking about the new stuff. And again, it kind of comes, you just like feel like you're falling behind or something, when really it like doesn't matter like as much. Like, especially things like exploration progress, like you're talking about, like puzzles and chests and stuff. Like, you don't need to, like, people 100% that stuff like day 1, day 2. And it's like, that's months of content that you just went through, like nothing, you know?
Yeah, and they all do it with guides. Like, they just
exactly
open up a map with the guides. Like, when did we become like this? You know, like, and it's actually, that's what people expect you to do. If you don't do it, you're weird.
Yeah, actually, you know, this comes into a conversation. I'm gonna side rail this podcast slightly, but we're pretty much done with this topic. So I'm gonna make a new topic, and that new topic is going to be stuff. And that stuff is, do you guys know Josh Strife Hayes? Do you know that YouTuber?
Me? No.
No? Okay. Well, he's just
Nope.
he's like an MMORPG YouTuber, and he made a video recently about like why do MMORPGs suck nowadays? Like why are they so terrible? And why do we hate them? And I think that his answer to the question of this is actually extremely relevant to Genshin as to why it's so popular. And I've been thinking about it a bit, so I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. I'll go ahead and explain the whole thing as I understand it, and then yeah, I'll let you guys respond. So basically, he said that the reason why old MMORPGs were fun and why the new ones suck is because old ones had complexities that you just had to figure out. Like you didn't know where you had to go. You didn't have a journal. You didn't have this or that. So you had to like explore. You had to talk to NPCs. You had to figure stuff out. You had to talk to other players. There weren't party finders. So you had to build your own party. Everything took a lot more work. And therefore you felt a lot more gratified when you did it. Like you felt like, yeah, I did that. And I feel good about it, you know, kind of thing. And nowadays, everything is so simple and so optimized that like you kind of just don't get that feeling most of the time. You just kind of run through the content without hitting any barriers, and then you don't really feel like you've done anything, so to speak. And so his solution was that we need adversity in video games like MMOs, because adversity or things that may like you don't think you want it, but you do, kind of thing. Where like we don't think we want an unoptimized game, but if a game is too optimized, it's bad. Like I think a good example for me personally is, I'm not going to say Morrowind is a better game than Oblivion or Skyrim, but I will say that like Skyrim to me is way more spoon-fed than Oblivion, and way more spoon-fed than Morrowind. When I played Morrowind, I felt like I was on a true adventure. And when I played Skyrim, I felt like I was following quest markers everywhere. And now with Genshin, to bring it back to Genshin, basically the whole thing I was thinking about is that like, no one likes gacha. Gacha is a system that we just have to work with. But like the adversity that we get from the gacha system, I think creates more feelings of like satisfaction, or like, when you save for a unit for a long time and you win the 50-50, like you beat that adversity, it just feels a kind of good, like a kind of satisfying that you don't get from like steamrolling through content that's meant to be spoon-fed to you, if that makes sense. Like
yeah, and just touching on this topic, because I've been thinking about this a lot. One of my earliest memories, like fondest gaming memories, and I don't know if anybody else was like this, I was playing Pokemon on the Game Boy Color. I think, like, no, Game Boy SP, the square one. So, and I started realizing something was wrong in that I was playing the game like just by myself, no guides, no anything. I wasn't like, you know, my parents were quite strict and whatnot. Couldn't do much, to be honest with you guys. And what ended up happening was, I was pretty proud of the account that I had, but when I came across friends and stuff who had like, you know, Game Sharks and were online finding guides and you know, like especially if you guys know the Reggies, that stuff was just like you had to do like a lot to figure out what the hell and how to access them. And I couldn't access them. Like I'd say it's damn near impossible to access them without a guide. It's just impossible. So what ended up happening, I think jealousy played a lot in that, like, oh, like I want that too. I want that. It's the same thing with like people in Genshin. Like you guys see someone else having some cool stuff, like, damn, I want that. How do I get that? Oh, I need to do this and this and this. Okay. It usually, and that becomes a habit. In the future, then he's like, okay, I'm just gonna continue doing this. I'm gonna continue looking for guides. I'm gonna continue asking, like getting help without needing to think for myself. I just need to figure out what's new this patch, what's worth getting, what's not worth getting. It's much easier when you don't have to think about it, when you don't have to stress about it, right? Having it all prepped for you, you know, nicely packaged with the background music and the stuff. And but what you don't realize is that, you know, your original enjoyment, what made that process so fun for you, was also the fact that you didn't know what was going to happen, and that when something did happen, it was unexpected. Right now, you're going in with an expectation for reward, which
Yeah.
in of itself takes away like most of the fun.
Yeah. Like
already.
I agree so much. Like I think that the mindset has kind of like you said, everyone wants everything kind of thing, where like someone sees something in an MMO nowadays and it has to be accessible. If it's not accessible, then basically people are going to freak out. And that kind of turns into an issue where it's like now you have nothing that you can achieve that sets you apart from the player base, and there's nothing that you can achieve that like really has any value of any sense, because it's just like anyone can get it. Whereas like, you know, with gacha, with Genshin, even if you're a free-to-play player, you know, you could have a roster that someone else doesn't have, and I think it creates like actually this is a really good tie-in for this. Exhausted Axolotl asked me a question where he was considering someone who had a friend who, I hope this isn't too personal, I don't think it's too personal, he had a friend who quit Genshin, was offering him an account. It's kind of in a better place than his account, but like had more characters, and he was kind of asking me like, do you think I should play this new account and like take it over instead of playing my old one? And my answer was like, no, because even though it has more characters, you didn't build them. You don't know what, like, for me, when I log into someone else's Genshin account, it feels so foreign to me. It feels like where am I right now? Like, even if they have the same characters that I have, the artifacts are so different, the weapon setups, like everything, party setups. I just feel like there's a lot of personal investment that you put into your account, and that's part of what I think makes Genshin fun to play, is that you like, I can look back on all the year that I put into my account, and it feels good. It's like, yeah, look at all this stuff I've done, kind of thing.
If I may chime in a little, you guys have been talking about adversity, about how that influence and molds our games. And the thing is, I think it's very subjective. It's not written in stone. That's what I feel at the very least. If we take an example from other games and we try to apply it into Genshin, just like you guys were doing, we have a game like Dark Souls, or like Bloodborne, or Elden Ring, which is more recent. Those type of games are very hard to play for someone who's just entering them. Like, you will die a lot, you will lose a lot of your progress, and it's justified by saying, but you're gaining experience in real life on how to play it. Yes, but nevertheless, many people get turned off by this simply because it's not allowing them to even breathe at the very beginning. Some people simply say, get good, and by that logic, a lot of people try until they finally manage it, and some people simply don't. And nevertheless, this company that has made these games has a very dedicated following, which proves in a certain way that people do like adversity. But you also have other cases, like for example, The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, was a game praised to high heaven by people. And in a certain way, the game did, as a matter of fact, hold your hand on many things, like quest logs, like telling you what you had to do, but it was justified because it had a very detailed and intricate story system. And you could make it more hard or less punishing on your gameplay. So it's not really just about hardship, about adversity that people might feel attracted to a game. I think it's about the entire structure of the game, how it's actually built. If it's going to have a good story, a gripping story, good gameplay, is it going to make sense? Is it being punishing just for the sake of being punishing? For example, there's a difference between having hard content and having inflated hard content. How would you feel if all of a sudden they pin you up against 20 Rift Hounds that come at you all at once with 3 Wolf Lords. It's a very hard content. You cannot even use shields to defend yourself. And all that stacking of corrosion is definitely going to kill you, even if you have a healer. But is it going to be enjoyable to you? It's definitely adversity. But is it enjoyable? I think that what people have missed is that we have to strike a balance between the story, the characters, the difficulty, and the exploration. You cannot just focus on one sole aspect and expect people to be praising it simply because now I feel accomplished. Personally, if things get too hard for me to the point where I get frustrated, I might finish it eventually, but I no longer feel accomplished. I feel like I wasted time because so many hours I tried to do something that was hindered not because it was a well-earned difficulty, but because it was inflicted difficulty. And as such, I think that maybe Genshin could be better when it comes to the difficulty and the adversity that you guys are talking, but it should be also said that they have to be careful not to overdo it, because if they overdo it, then simply people will get frustrated, and even if some people like it, other people are simply going to feel like they don't want to play anymore.
Yeah,
So-
I want to clarify that I'm not saying Genshin needs to be harder. As a matter of fact, I was saying that the adversity comes from the wishing system, and that's what makes Genshin feel satisfying. I don't think Genshin needs to be difficult at all. I don't think the combat needs to be hard at all. I don't want 20 Rift Hounds and 3 Geo Lords coming at me at the same time. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about turning Genshin into Dark Souls. I'm saying that part of the reason why Genshin feels satisfying is because it has adversity already from the wishing system, and that makes people feel satisfied when they save for months on end. And this is like the point where you could say, like, there's different kinds of adversity. Some people like Dark Souls adversity, where they like dying a bunch and they like, you know, struggling against a boss that's really mechanically challenging. But some people may prefer adversity that's about patience, which is what Genshin is, and which is why I'm guessing you like it more, is because the kind of adversity that you're tackling in Genshin is being patient and saving and working towards a long-term goal. But, you know, that's what I think captivates people for longer periods of time with games like MMOs. And it's been a design element that is not considered except for games like Dark Souls nowadays. Most game companies do not want you at all to struggle in their game. They want zero resistance because they believe that if you come up with the resistance, most people will quit. And that is a case where, like, a lot of people will quit if they come up with resistance, if it's poorly managed and if it's poorly balanced. But, like, I think that games do need a little adversity, because it's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like if you're watching a TV show, like an anime, and they're fighting a villain, and you know 100% they're gonna win. Like, they're gonna win anyway. Like, you know they're gonna win because they're the MC. But, like, if they don't even play it up that they're gonna lose, that the villain is a threat, then it's just really boring to watch. You know what I mean? I think what makes the animes exciting is when you're like, oh, this villain is really strong, and oh, how are they gonna get out of this one, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I wasn't saying that the combat needs to be more difficult. Just simply that part of the reason why Genshin may be succeeding so much is because it does have, like, a lot of people say that Genshin would be a better game if you just could get all the characters, just boom, here's the game, here's all the characters, have fun. I actually think that no one would play this game if that were the case, because everyone would have already done everything they wanted to do, kind of thing. Like, there'd be nothing to work towards, there'd be no friction working against you in the game as you play it.
Well,
If
sorry.
I could kind of, because there were a lot of great points that were mentioned, and I want to kind of touch on them one by one, starting with the one with Dark Souls and stuff, like a game being difficult, and in that difficulty, some people may find that challenge fun and enjoyable. However, with the example, let's say you're playing like someone is playing Dark Soul and they just die and die and die and die, and they cleared the boss in like 30 tries. If and this is like my main point here is that I like back to the Pokemon thing. I thought I had a great account. I thought, you know, my Pokedex was doing good. I had like a couple level 100 Pokemons, but it wasn't until I saw my friend's account where it was like, dude was literally rolling around with like every single legendary possible like you can possibly get in the game. With like it's just absolute insanity. And that, with that reference in mind, then I started to look at my account. It's like, damn, why can't my account be like that? And what I've realized is with modern gaming is that you are constantly, and I guess this is the same with Instagram and stuff. Like we gamers think we're away from that stuff. No, we're not. We're constantly subconsciously comparing ourselves to other people. Like you may believe it or not believe it, but just look at, like, really reach deep down into yourself and think, like, when you see someone else's account for showcasing or whatever, what is it that you're feeling inside? Are you feeling happy for the person, or are you feeling, you know, jealousy or whatever? What emotion is it evoking in you? Because for the most part, people want their account to do well. People want their account, their own account, to succeed. And it's kind of like how women and men with the whole like beauty industry ruining body image for people. It's the same thing with gaming. We are now getting exposed to all these god tier accounts of people dropping like $100,000 to get C6R5 every character. It just makes you feel like shit, quite frankly. And you may admit it, you may not admit it, but it's something that's actually a huge detriment to your personal enjoyment of gaming in general. Like, same thing with, let's say you play League of Legends. You think like, oh my god, I'm silver or gold, I'm so good, and then you go open Twitch and you see these challengers, you know, like smurfing on people in diamond, and you just feel bad. Like all your personal achievements before, you used to only get measured up to your neighbor's kids, and now you got to get measured up to people all across the world. It's PvP on steroids. And sometimes people will call you out. Like nowadays, you go and you dare go on Reddit and say like proudly that you're a silver in, you know, League of Legends. People are gonna meme on you. Not only are you not getting to enjoy this experience, right, this personal growth, you're actively shunned from even engaging and sharing your personal achievements, which back in the day you can tell your friends who probably was gold or could be silver with you, and you guys could fight through it together. It was an enjoyable process because you were not so overly exposed to everyone else. And now we're kind of stuck in this situation where, you know, you can't get out of it. Everywhere you go, you're constantly being exposed to it, and that's what I think is really ruining the fun for gaming. You could be playing a single game, complete single game, and you can still feel shit about yourself because, let's say you cleared the game in 7 days or something, and you're pretty proud of that, right? Pretty clean run, and you see speedrunners doing it in 23 minutes. Now you suddenly feel bad about yourself again. Or you can feel bad about yourself and feel impressed by the other person, but nonetheless, it takes away from your achievements. And that's my point with, you know, Genshin, with all these games nowadays, MMOs, single player, like shooter games, MOBA games, any game you can think of. It's because we're so connected that we feel so bad about ourselves. And the need to constantly get that edge. Gotta look at the best guide, gotta have the best characters, or else I'm falling behind, or else I'm not cool, or else people are gonna make fun of me, or whatever, or else I can't like converse with people or feel included. And I think that is extremely dangerous. And if we can just, like, we can't avoid it, but just be aware of it. And just, you know, keep yourself aware of the situation we are in and find ways to enjoy.
Yeah, you basically gotta check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's really what it's all about.
Exactly.
Like, you gotta. It's like those are common human experiences, and you gotta recognize that. Like, I heard someone say this once, where it's like, if you don't think, like, if you see someone do something really bad and you think, oh, I would never do that, you're the exact kind of person who would do that, because it's
Yeah.
only if you realize like, oh, I could do that, but I'm definitely not going to. That's the only way that you get that kind of certainty, where it's like you recognize the possibility, but you're just like, nah, that's not gonna happen. Where it's kind of the same thing with Genshin in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or-
like just start by being aware.
Yeah.
Just being aware of the possibility that you know, this could happen to you, and then controlling yourself, right?
What are you talking about, Flo? I would never flex my units. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong. And again, like don't let whatever I said make it feel like, oh, you know, it's bad to show off your achievements. No, don't ever be ashamed of what you have achieved, because I think in a way that's all we wanted. That's what fun is overcoming adversity, like slowly making gains, making progression, starting from a potato, ending up as a yam. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's about the journey, and if you feel happy about your journey and you can feel proud about it without being influenced by other people's journey, because that's where the problem starts. When you must, like, your enjoyment is directly connected to you feeling superior to other people. That's when you know you have a problem.
Exactly.
That's how companies get you. It's like that's how you end up spending $300,000 on Diablo Immortal, and I think that's on the low end to be competitive. You know, like if your enjoyment is solely crushing other people, there is an underlying issue there that, you know, probably requires a professional, like actual professional help.
Yeah, like I think there's this saying where it's like everyone has the right to their own suffering, where it's like,
Right.
you know, even though someone's suffering might not be as bad as someone else's, they still have a right to suffer. Like I think it's the same for success and joy and stuff, you know. It's like, if it doesn't matter whether you're a free-to-play or a whale, like if you're proud of your C0, you know, Kazuha, Ito, whoever, you know, don't let someone's C6R5 version of that make you feel bad, because you have the right to be proud of what you've done with yours. And, you know, I mean, for real, it's probably a lot of free-to-play players probably put more love into their units than whales. So
Yeah, and I guarantee you guys, the people who enjoy Genshin the most are the ones who are like out hunting boars and like picking mint. I guarantee you, like people who C6, like look at Tectone. I don't want to like call names, like he's a great example. Like the man has everything you can possibly want in the game. Is he enjoying the game? Doesn't sound like it, right? It's just like people who are tryhard like theory crafters, like are they truly enjoying the game for the most part? Like I see them upset, angry, frustrated more than people who are just running around, you know, killing hilichurls and calling it a day. And I think Hoyoverse has really encapsulated a huge market here for casual players. And like I think for the most part, people just, a lot of the theory crafter and the tryhard players who look at guides and like crush content in a day, they will never understand. They will like, to them this is such a weird thing to even consider, the possibility of playing the game casually, because that's not how they have fun. To them, that's not fun. And
Yeah.
right, that's from their perspective. But for like I found that these people struggle to see from other people's perspective. They cannot fathom the concept of, you know, playing a game like Genshin Impact for fun, like just casually catering it to your own experience. No, they have to 36 star the Abyss. They have to like maximize each character to the best possible like artifact and character proficiency, playstyle, team builds, rotations. And the funny thing is, for 99% of the people who are running these teams, they didn't come up with these teams themselves, which is absolutely bizarre to me.
yeah, I always feel better.
Again, yeah,
I always feel
we have
better
to
when
understand.
I build my own teams, even if they're not the meta. Like it's just more fun to build my own teams, and like you come up with you know, little synergies that you find, and you're like, oh, that's so cool, I like that. And I think it feels better than copy pasta than just doing what you see someone else do on like a YouTube channel or something like that. Like, yeah, maybe I'm not as optimal, maybe I'm not as whatever as some other people, but like I'm doing my own thing, and that feels nice. I think.
I have to agree.
Oh, go ahead, Dante.
No, I was just going to say I have to agree with everything you've said so far. I think it's extremely important to prioritize both your enjoyment and also don't ever allow yourself to be compared to someone else, because by nature this game will never allow you to be equal to someone else. We have to remember that there's an aspect to this entire game that is the artifact system, and it's a very random. It's almost like a gacha in itself. So
Yes, if you are not Dante, you know, don't think you can easily get away with good artifact RNG for the most part. And I see somebody in chat, Justin here saying like, but asking advice is always good though. Yes, like if you are
Yes.
working on something, you're stuck, you have questions, asking for people references, advices, it's great because you are in the process of developing your own way of thinking and understanding for the game, and you are catering that experience for yourself because right, you're asking questions that are unique to what like the problems you have ran into. Asking questions is great. But if you have a blank slate, you come into this game and your entire Genshin's experience from like level like AR1 all the way to like the day you quit has been catered by like has been what's that word, cultivated by someone else, and then it's like it doesn't make sense to me that people come and say like, oh, this game sucks now, like I'm out of things to do, when they quite honestly haven't done anything in the game. They just followed guides from the beginning all the way till they beat Spar Abyss.
Yeah, it's like
game's-
it's
game's over.
literally that Patrick meme where he's like he ate his chocolate bar and he's like,
Oh yeah,
you went and
like
ate
you-
all my chocolate, now it's gone.
yeah, it's just that like the game is here for you to enjoy, and there's like so much things they crammed into this game. Like the game is like what at this point 50 gigabytes, like with all sorts of like Easter eggs, I guess at this point, like puzzles for you to do, but like the players are the ones who chose to speedrun that, and now they turn around and say there's no content, which sometimes just feels, you know, quite weird to me. Like, I mean, I still haven't finished. I still don't have all the Animalculus, I don't have all the Geoculus, and I do commissions in these regions just on the off chance, hoping that I come across them. You know? And people think that's weird.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, you still have things to look forward to doing every day, and I think that's kind of like, it's one of those things with I think people don't understand, like for instance, I think a lot of whales understand that like after you pull a C6R5 unit or after you whale really hard, you're not filled with some sense of like, wow, I'm so happy I did all that. Like, you're not filled with any sense of purpose, any sense of fulfillment, anything. Whenever I wail, I feel completely dead inside. I feel it doesn't it doesn't feel great. And like I've heard I was watching someone talk about Lost Ark, and they were saying the same thing. Like, they wailed their way up to the highest item level and then cleared the current raid that was up, and then they just stood there in town. And that's exactly what they were doing before, standing there in town. You know what I mean? Like,
Now they just have a shinier armor, like and some effect on their weapon.
yeah, exactly. But people that are not whales, they like see that and they think it's not going to be like that for some reason. They're like, oh, but if I do, like, I'm going to get there and it's going to be like, I'm going to be the biggest pog champ.
Yeah, like that moment really sinks in once like the magic phase, which is whenever you like, this is what I always say, you want what you can't have, and it's so damn true. It is so damn true. Like, and that's like the biggest debate ever, is seeing somebody and thinking like, oh, I want what that person has, like being jealous of somebody. Like, for the most part, you absolutely do not. Like, we all deal with our own like problems, and just because somebody's sitting inside a Ferrari doesn't mean like this guy doesn't have like problems in their life. And in fact, the person who's like the problems that the guy sitting in a Ferrari is having is quite frankly unfathomable to most people, because if that guy sitting in a Ferrari with all that money can't solve that problem and it's bothering him, yeah, you probably don't want that to be your problem.
Yeah, that's why, Flo, I want your Kazuha C6. Give it to me now.
No.
No, but in all honesty, I have to agree with what you guys are saying. I think that one of the biggest problems for the Genshin community in general is jealousy. Like when you were talking about getting to watch other people's accounts and seeing them play normally tends to make people compare with that person, what they're doing and how they're doing it, and when they see that someone is succeeding by what they're doing, whether it is on the meta or not, people are going to get a bit jealous because they're seeing success while perhaps they are feeling that they're having subpar results. So it's a very dangerous thing to be on that position, in all honesty, because you're just going to get frustrated, and some people unfortunately might even put themselves at financial risk trying to then buy everything to catch up in a certain way, and that's only going to be detrimental to themselves, not to anyone else, because it's not like you can just go around and flex to everyone, hey, look, I look at my characters, and it's not a good way to live your life. So personally, I think that this game should be played with a casual mindset, in the sense that if you want to spend time on the game, spend it, but don't compete with absolutely no one, because at the end of the day, it's your account, the one that you're playing. You're not playing anyone else's account, and you shouldn't be jealous. Celebrate whatever people succeed in, and never covet what others have, except if it's Flo and the C6 Kazuha, because I want that animal bully. But besides that,
Yeah. Besides that, yeah.
I think.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'll just say one last thing because I need to get going here really quick. But yeah, I think as much as we say this, we preach this, like you'll see, like we all fall victim to this stuff. Like it's just because it's there. It's sometimes it's just convenient, and you guys shouldn't judge yourselves or other people too hard. Like and neither are we here, sitting on a high horse preaching down at you guys. We all do this, all right, and it's quite normal. Don't let this ruin your your enjoyment. If you enjoy looking up guides and whatnot to complete content, to get primo gems, to roll for characters, do it. And I know there are people who knows this is an issue. Like if you go ask a lot of these people who spend hundreds of thousands, do they know it's an issue? Yeah, they know it's an issue, but it's fun, and they have the income to spend on this. So there's nothing really, more to say about it. But just for the people who are curious. So yeah, thank you for having me though, Flo. I do have to get going now.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate you being here. Thanks, Walrus. It's always fun having you on the podcast, and I'll be sure to let you know when the next one happens.
Thank you so much. And yeah, Dante, Mattim, Flo,
EroticWalruss,
and everyone in chat. Thank you
great
guys.
to see you again.
Yeah, same. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah, peace,
Bye.
Walrus.
Bye, peace.
bye bye.
All right. I did see a question a while back from Nat that we didn't get to. Nat was asking, how do we feel about the trend of boycotting Genshin? Not only has the lack of action from Hoyoverse but taken to listen to feedback, but the lack of skin diversity and stuff has created a lot of discontent. What do we think about... Here, let me update the Discord screen so that there we go. What do we think about the possibility of Hoyoverse being boycotted? And I, quite simply put, my opinion on that is just that Genshin is too big, and even if 100,000 people hate Genshin and boycott it, there are millions of players, and I just don't think that there could be a boycott large enough that would actually affect Hoyoverse.
I think that in a certain way we did touch a bit on this subject when we were talking about the characters and the skin tones. And for the most part, I think that one of the things that I would personally say is it's obvious that there's a problem with expectation and reality from the player base to Hoyoverse. We want the game to look a certain way because we expect the game to look in a certain way, but there's a difference with what we're expecting and what direction they're going to take. A very simple example of this is the way Heizou looks. At the very beginning, someone did a fan art of Heizou, and people thought that that's the way he was going to look, like a male Hu Tao but Electro. I remember seeing that exact drawing of Heizou, and people were upset when they revealed that Heizou was going to be Animo and that he was looking completely different. The thing is that when we expect something, we get disappointed when we don't get exactly what we were expecting. And I think Walrus explained in a very detailed way the way that the company that is based on China thinks regarding a lot of these topics. Like, they are going to be focused mainly on their Chinese audience, and they're going to cater to a lot of their desires, a lot of what they like or want. So I can understand why a lot of people here on our side get angry and might say, I'm not going to play anymore. But being completely realistic, we cannot force a company to do what we want. And at the end of the day, I prefer always quality and that the content makes sense. If they can add more things like diversity or, I don't know, different stories or plot lines, perfect, by all means do it. But don't do it just because you're doing it, because that would mean almost like a disrespect to the audience, because that would mean almost we're just doing it to please you, we're not even putting effort in it. So trying to boycott something, it's a way to pressure, but is it really going to accomplish something, or is it going to give you a subpar result? That's at the very least how I look at it, based on both my upbringing, where I was born, and the fact that I am not accustomed to complain. But I don't know how you guys think about this. This is literally just my very personal view on the matter.
What do you think, Nateem?
I'm not going to lie, I kind of got sidetracked with the entire topic. Because I was thinking about something, and it's alright. Do you have anything about this topic, Flo?
Basically, we were talking about whether people could boycott Genshin, and whether that would be effective or not.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Yeah, I don't think so. Because here's the thing, the community we are in, the community we see in the Discord, compared to how big Genshin is, that's basically minority of the people. And most of the people which are playing Genshin are casuals which you will probably never see on those communities. So
yeah, like
even if we are disappointed with Hoyoverse's choices, it's at the end of the day they care about casuals which are willing to spend money.
Yeah, a really good point. That's a really good point, and it's also like most people. There are a lot of people on Twitter talking about it for sure, but that is still a minority of the community, and I would be willing to bet that most people haven't even thought about it. Like a lot of the casuals that play Genshin, I bet a lot of people haven't even thought about it at all. That there's not a lot of diversity, and that's unfortunate. But that's just like, I think that's less of a Hoyo issue and more of a like a cultural thing that we need to, you know, like, it's really sad that here we are in 2022 and we're still dealing with stuff like this, but like all we can do is vocalize that we would like things to be better and more fair, and also just that, you know, if someone lives in a desert, they should probably have more melanin in their skin, because that makes actual sense. But this is an anime game, and realism is not something that they're aiming for. So yeah, there's also that.
Well, we can also remember that Teva does not obey normal rules.
But I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about, Flo. Having a 500-year-old child that is an archon, a leader of an entire nation, is completely realistic. You just have to look at our history. It's realistic.
Oh, you're so right. How could I forget our own 500-year-old god queen who ruled over the lands of Narnia for such a long time?
Precise.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I don't really have anything else to say about that. Do we have any other chat? You have any questions? You have any topics? Anything you want us to talk about or whatever? Because I think we covered pretty much everything, and yeah, it's been a good podcast. We had plenty to talk about. I'm looking forward to doing another one of these once. I don't know if we'll wait until like the 3.0 live stream or whatever it is, but we'll probably just do one of these. I don't know. Would you guys chat? Would you like to see more of these more often, or would you like to just keep them at like one a patch? You said it already. You didn't see it. What did you say, Scoop?
Oh, the C6R5 does not change the character's kit at all. It allows you to not spend as much time on artifacts compared to C0.
Oh, just as like an idea for. I'm confused what that means.
I think it's what they are trying to say is you can spend money to basically not spend as much time grinding for the artifacts to get on the same power level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't.
I was actually going to say, I had the conversation regarding that with Lay7 some months ago, and that's what he basically explained to me. Most of the people that wail on the game and that try to get constellations, they do it because they don't have the time or the patience, or they do have a lot of love for the character. So instead of grinding artifacts to the point where you could consider it done, they get subpar artifacts, but they get constellations that balance the entire build out, and they call it a day. That's at least what he explained to me back then.
Yeah,
I
don't
do.
know.
yeah. I think that's I think that's a lot of whales. What they do, yeah. But I think that's just another reason why whaling doesn't necessarily feel good, because you just get it. You know, it's just like, in a way, it's even worse than games where like it's not even like you have to do a quest or anything. Like, character comes out, you swipe, you get the character, end of story. And like, I know that free-to-play players fantasize about that, but it's like the grass is always greener on the other side kind of thing. Like, you think you want it, but again, whaling just kind of makes me personally, whaling, you know, doesn't feel good for me. It doesn't feel like I'm having a fulfilling fun time when I do it. Like, it felt way better when I saved. Like, recently I saved for Yelan, and when I pulled her, I got, without spending, I got C1R1 without spending, and I just got insanely lucky. And that felt amazing. That was like, that and Kokomi's banner were the only banners that like I didn't feel dead inside after I wished on them, but that was only because I got really lucky and I ended up saving for these units too.
I remember that session pool, the Yelan pool, you were very excited. I really do remember it.
Yeah.
It was very nice to see you win on it.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was huge. And like, it felt so good because I didn't spend, I didn't spend any money. I just saved. I had like 100 something wishes and I just went for it. And it went really well. And it just, dang, man, it felt freaking great. I can't believe it still that it went so well. I'm in shock.
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm, I think you also finally got your gene, the constellation that you wanted. How did you felt when you were able to get it?
Oh, I'm actually still missing one more constellation for C4 because that's what I'm aiming for.
Oh, then never mind that. Haven't said a word.
But even with that, C2 already makes a lot of difference for me in terms of overworld playing. So
yeah, C2 Gene is huge. I love that constellation. Such a fun constellation. But yeah, thanks to everyone in chat for being here. Got the Discord link in the chat here pinned if you'd like to join if you're new. Yeah, I think Exhausted
there's
Axolotl.
also an event going on the Discord.
Yes, there is. There's an event going on the Discord. And if you'd like to participate in some challenges, some fun in-game challenges, and earn some prizes, hop in that Discord and make good use of the wonderful prizes that we have. Exhausted Axolotl said doing one of these mid-patch and one like pre-patch would be good. I think that would be good. I could see that being possible. It really, I guess it just depends on the amount of content that we have and what we have to talk about. Like I could see us doing one of these pretty soon after maybe 1 in 2.8 or I don't know.
We
For
can
me,
probably
it's
do one
always
in
fun to be
like
here.
2 or 3 weeks.
One every like 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think about 3 weeks, yeah, because banners last for 3 weeks, and since there's 2.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Like do one per banner. I could see that. Yeah, that would work out well. All right. Well, if no one has anything else for topics or anything like that, we're gonna wrap up. If you guys haven't dropped a like on the stream, please do so. It would help me out. And I love doing these. These are a lot of fun.
Well, perhaps all I can say is to have a time to talk about our Lord and Savior, the Lord of Geo, and how the Geo element is better than every other element.
Well, I did run around killing things this entire time with my Edo team, so there was that, Oh,
Well,
look.
if you only seen me running with my
Hero
a
said,
lot faster.
I installed Genshin again after hearing about the stuff you were talking about. Sounded interesting. Yeah. I mean, if you took a break, we're about to exit the slow period. Like we're about to enter the big hype time with all the new region and all the new element and stuff that's coming out with that. So if you guys have been taking a break from Genshin or you just haven't been playing, it's not a bad time to get in and start saving up primos for all that. For sure. Especially because next patch is going to be pretty fun. It's with the Archipelago, I think it's going to feel like a pretty decent size patch. Like I remember the Archipelago, I spent an hour or 2 in that every day doing that. So it was a good amount of content.
Yeah, it was very fun, the last Archipelago. I do remember it.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh, Ray is breaking my heart right now. Don't ever question crystallized shields. They're beautiful. Just embrace them as part of the entire kit.
True. They do look pretty. They do look very pretty. I like them. Yeah. I'm gonna wrap up, I guess. I don't know when to end it because it's just like but
I need to get going anyway, so
okay.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation, and thank you, chat, for being here.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Myth
get
Game.
going.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye bye.
All right. Well,
Bye bye.
stay healthy, everybody. Stay hydrated. And yeah, peace, peace.